Welcome to SC Awards 2026. I'm Mike Shema. Joining me today is Terence Liu, CEO of TXOne Networks. Terence, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me here, Mike.
So one of the things we want to do with all of the SC Awards finalists is just introduce them, get to know what they're doing, and I'm trying to avoid spoilers. You work in a very different space, but one that I'm really interested in. Tell us a little bit about TXOne.
Yeah, so at TXOne Networks, we build solutions to secure those mission critical assets at the shop floor, so-called OT security or ICS security. So we are mainly selling to larger manufacturers and critical infrastructure operators.
Yeah, and one of the things that excites me about that is that these devices can be small and handheld, or they could take up half of a factory floor, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. And
Yeah.
so there's got to be that's got to be complex to secure, because we also hear about there's legacy, there's old. How does that impact the challenges of what you have to try and do?
Yeah, exactly. So OT is all about fragmented. So when you look into the shop floor, it could be very different from one industry to another industry. For example, at a semiconductor, you could have a several $1 million to $100 million very expensive and a very dedicated machine. But to like a automotive OEM, you have many like a robot arms, assembly those components. But if you look into the supplier, like a tire supplier, right? It's basically a chemical company. So the shop floor are very different. So we don't believe one size fits all at OT. So we create some supply chain protection tool, endpoint like agent based or network security based solutions to fit into a variety of environments.
And that's a key part to fit into those environments, because as you're pointing out, they can be so varied. I imagine on the one hand, they have common worries, common threats, common security problems, but the solutions for that are difficult. And so can you run the same agent on that, few $100 million, fabrication machine as you can on that robotic arm? What does that look like?
Yeah. So in the end of the day, right? I mean, if you want to have a good agent endpoint protection solution, still mainly it's about Windows and Linux.
Okay.
Right, and so if we can support Microsoft Windows well, we can actually fit into many cases. But the differences between IT and OT or shop floor versus the just data center is that we have a bunch of very old Windows machines that could start from Windows XP 2000, right? And it's not real.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I would say maybe 10% of all the machines are running on XP and Windows 2000. So majority are Windows 7 or 8, and it's already obsoleted from Microsoft point of view, right?
Of course.
Yeah. So I've been asked by my customer that do I support MS-DOS? Like a 6.4. I was like
old school.
Find the virus first,
Yeah.
right? And so yeah, it's very different. So I think for OT cybersecurity, the first challenge is could your solution be really deployed into the environment? And from endpoint point of view, the biggest challenge is on supporting the legacy operating system.
Yeah, and that's got to be tough, because even just trying to get something to compile and run on MS-DOS is a feat these days. But what are the customers asking you? Like, what are they saying? What that they're worried about? What is the help that they need?
Right. I mean, we are a cybersecurity company,
Right.
So cybersecurity is the bottom line, right? I mean, what we do. But top on that, I think two more things. One is don't disrupt people's operations. Right, that's
Yeah.
I mean, safety and availability.
Ooh, that's true.
Those are top priorities for OT. And another thing is don't impact their productivity, right? And the productivity could be related to the machine or the people. I mean, so we talk about Windows XP, right? So you don't really think that Windows XP running on a very powerful modern CPU, right? So if your solution is going to slow down the machine and then impact the manufacturing utilization rate that defeats the whole purpose, right? So that's not that's not a good way. Another thing is it's OT. It's a shop floor. You have a bunch of machines there, and you don't have many security people or IT people, take care of cybersecurity. We have to make sure the configuration, the blocking and respond to the threats, it can be handled by maybe asset owner or very limited resources from security team. So that's another big differences.
That's interesting, and because I was going to ask too, because first of all, we were joking about MS DOS or XP. Your platform, I'm sure, your solutions are not running on XP. You have the benefit of being able to have modern on a modern platform to say here's what's wrong or here's some signals. What does it look like? What do the customers say about a signal that helps them, or what you found that is the thing that doesn't take their time off the floor, distracts them unnecessarily, but says this is something we have to pay attention to now?
Right. We our endpoint protection solution named Stellar, and the Stellar support like three main functions. The first one is more like a whitelisting.
Okay.
So what's allowed to be executed on that machine.
Yeah.
And that's for mainly very, legacy system that you don't really change it quite often, right? Because if you change it quite often, then update that whitelist become a management cost.
Yeah.
And second function is anti-malware, right? And you think about application whitelisting and anti-malware are very old traditional features, right, from IT's point of view. But many of my customers, they could be the most advanced factory in the world. But 2 years, 3 years ago, they actually had nothing there, extra floor. So it sounds like very hard to believe. But in that environment, you could have, let's say, 100,000 assets equipped with Microsoft Windows without any protection.
That's one bad ransomware day happening. Yeah,
Yeah, especially when the worm get inside the shop floor and propagate, right? That could be nightmare. And so having the application whitelisting and anti-malware block those known threats, I think that's a very good starting point for OT per se. But we take a step further to implement so-called like OT EDR. We call it CPSDR, Cyber Physical System Detection Response.
Okay.
So modern EDR technology is all about how could we modeling hackers' behavior. So it's more like expert rule. It's like a blacklist of this is hackers act. But in OT, we have that privilege that we can add another layer like a whitelist.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's so hard to do just blacklist only. Because if you make it very sensitive, there will be just too much noise. But you make it insensitive, then you lose some accuracy, right? And so our way is we make it very sensitive, but we add a whitelist to reduce the false positive. And how can we do that? So we keep monitoring the operations in this shop floor, like what kind of machine talk to what machine, with what language, it's between what protocol to what applications or services, and etc. And so once we are able to model an OT, and luckily OT is more static, right? And so we can find the abnormal from the normal. But it's hard for IT vendor to do that in IT because it's just too dynamic to be modelized.
I see.
Right. So again, back to Stellar, we do whitelisting, anti-malware, and CPSDR, detection response. But I would say current maturity for most organizations are still focused on antivirus, anti-malware.
Oh, interesting. Because for me, the appeal, honestly, is that allow listing, that list that says, this is just what we expect to be on here, and that really shouldn't change, because these devices should be rather predictable in their behavior. They're not something that people are logging into checking their email every day, right? They're
Right. I
operating
mean,
under very different circumstances.
in cases for like, for example, like an ATM machine
Yeah.
for the bank, right? You can lock it down. POS, supermarket, you have the POS machine, you can lock it down. But for many like engineering workstations, a shop floor that you have to keep updating to have a new feature, then every time you have a new feature be added, you have to unlock, learn the new thing, and lock it again, right? And that's management cost.
Yeah.
So depends.
Yeah, I can imagine that's the slight worrisome window of opportunity for something bad to get in, something bad to happen. And so what you've described is agents on all these devices, as well as like a network view. So it looks like this combination that perhaps you do have to touch each of these devices, but that's not where you stop too. And that feels very compelling. Is there something there that makes it, is it very hard to deploy this type of solution for the
Yeah,
end users?
that's a great question. So no, it's not really hard to deploy, but the thing is when and how,
Oh, interesting.
right?
Okay.
Because the machine is running, right? And you don't just shut down every machine in the
That could
factory.
be expensive, right?
Yeah, let's do security, right?
That doesn't even work in software world. Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, those machine is like a money printer, right? So if you ask them to stop, it means that impact the revenue. So you have to wait until the system downtime, right? And so timing is also important. And so who is the guy to do the deployment? I mean, in our install base, we see different cases.
Okay.
Right. Some customer may ask asset owner to do it, and that's actually a very efficient way. But you have to make it very easy because asset owner are not security people, right?
Yeah.
And some other people they use IT people to do it.
Okay.
And some other people they outsource to like a system integrator. So the deployment rate could change from company to company. So we've been seeing some company able to deploy 10,000, 20,000 machine per month.
Okay.
But in other cases, maybe 100, 300, 500 machine per month.
Wow.
Yeah, so it depends. So if you have 100,000 machines, and your deployment rate is 1,000 per month, that means you take
isn't helpful.
100 months, right?
Yeah.
To have full coverage. But this again, this is a new initiative.
Yeah.
So people are learning a lot from each other, maybe. Yeah.
That's true, and I appreciate that. OT very much a very physical, hardware world. You're talking about the software side, but obviously people are still an important part of this.
I don't know, OT security is like this, but OT security especially, it's people, process, technology. Yeah. So technology itself has a lot of limitation, right? And so still, you especially in OT, you need the right process in place to really make those technology effective, right? But if people don't know about this, then you don't have a good foundation at all. So it's always people, process, technology. So in our product too, we try to make the product very easy to manage, very easy to be deployed, so that we can enable more people to do it. But on the other hand, the design has to be has those process in mind. So for example, we are in software business. So like every quarter or 2 quarters, we have a new release. But it's OT, it's running on the machine. So how do you deploy? You don't just deploy, right? So for some very sensitive environment, they may choose a production line that's relatively insensitive.
Okay.
Start from there, and they have in very sensitive area they have a N-1 policy. which means they always use the second to the latest version.
Right. Let the bugs get worked out of the latest version. Yeah. Let somebody else.
Yeah,
suffer.
so that
Yeah.
they can avoid that blue screen incident
Yes.
last year. So yeah, so those are processes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely the subtext of what you've been describing is that make the process simple, but it can still be complex defenses, complex software on the back end that's defending everyone. It's just not making the process more burdensome. And I think that's a great message to hear. Thank you so much, Terence.
Thank you, Mike.
Appreciate that. To learn more about TXOne, please visit securityweekly.com/TX1RSAC. And for all of our SC Awards 2026 coverage, check out securityweekly.com/RSAC.